podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
No breaks. No breaks. No fear. No fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along. I'm Ian Brannan. It's all hotting up in each of British Speedway's leagues. In the Premiership, Wolverhampton's table-topping hopes hang in the balance after they were beaten 48-42 by their closest rivals, Peterborough.
That is one of the results of the season for the Peterborough Panthers, who win by 6 points away from home at Fortress Montmagrian.
We'll hear from Rob Lyon and Peter Adams, Chris Harris and Sam Masters. Meanwhile, the National Speedway Stadium, a win for Bellevue. Are they hitting form at the right time? We'll find out from Mark Lemon, the Bellevue Director of Speedway, and Kings Lynn's top scorer, Connor Mountain. We'll also hear from Jack Holder ahead of a busy time for Sheffield, who face Peterborough twice in 5 days. Special spotlight, though, on the Championship this week. Our special guest with us throughout the episode is Peter Facenna of the Glasgow Tigers, looking at what's involved in running a Championship Speedway team, and also his hopes on how the future is going to look for the Glasgow Tigers, both this season and looking ahead to next year as well. They have to face up to Leicester this weekend. We'll hear from Ryan Douglas. We'll also hear from Bjarne Pedersen, who called time on his Championship career at Ashfield last weekend. Plus, looking ahead to the British Under-19 final at Scunthorpe on Friday. We'll hear from Lyon, Flint and the defending champion Drew Kemp. All on the way on No Breaks, No Fear.
No breaks, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along then. There's lots to get through this week. And first of all, let's introduce our special guest joining us throughout the episode. He is Peter Facenna of the Glasgow Tigers. Now, Peter, I've been looking online to try and find your correct title. And when you look at reports in the Speedway Star, you've been called the boss, you've been called the chief, you've been called the supremo. What is your official title?
I don't really have a title. I'm a director of the club. It's not just me. It's myself, my family, my father, my brother. So we all play our part. So we don't really have official titles, if you like. We're kind of jack of all trades. We get involved in lots of things, and it's not just us. It's the support team round about us as well. So I'm a director of Glasgow Tigers Speedway, you might say.
It's great to have you with us, and thanks for joining us this week on the podcast. I just want to go back first of all to before the start of the season. I was looking at some of your comments from February, March kind of time, where we didn't really know what Speedway would look like in 2021 at that point. We didn't know if we'd have a season of any kind, and obviously that was the hope, and you were planning there on the assumption we would get somewhere. Looking back at that, just talk us through some of the challenges that you had to get to the tapes, and how you feel the season's gone for Glasgow Tigers so far.
Well, yeah, it was a very challenging time. We had to start behind closed doors. I know some of the other clubs down south were restricted in terms of what numbers they could have in, and how the fans were segregated throughout the stadium. But for us, it was starting behind closed doors. We were able to do a live stream, but it didn't replace having fans in the stadium, either from a atmospheric point of view or a financial point of view. So it was a challenge. We on the track, certainly we started really, really well, and things were growing great up until Ulrich got injured at Edinburgh, sadly, and that kind of knocked us back a bit. And then we've subsequently made some changes. So it really was quite a challenge for us, but it's good that the whole sport was able to go ahead, because I think at times, whether it was a third lockdown coming or whatever, there was still question marks over whether we would be able to complete a full season. So it's great that all three leagues have been able to do that.
And in terms of the importance of getting the fans in, of course, it's important for the atmosphere, but also important for the bottom line, isn't it? To be able to have the fans back in the stadium and in a fairly unrestricted way as well, which is what's really kept Speedway going across the country from, say, June, July, when restrictions really started to ease, certainly in England. And we've seen that some clubs have still struggled, even despite being able to have the crowds in there. Just tell us about the importance of the cash flow really involved in running the club, and how important the fans coming through the turnstiles are to the day-to-day lifeblood.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything, Ian. From our perspective, we are not quite at the fan levels, even though the restrictions are gone. We're not quite at the levels we had pre-COVID in 2019, because I think, whether some people are still worried about going to mass events with the recent spike, I'm not sure, but it is the lifeblood of any club is its income, clearly, and the main part, certainly for those in the Championship that don't have any TV revenue, is making sure that you get fans through the door, and it's clearly been a struggle for most clubs. We are very fortunate that, because of the company that sits behind the Glasgow Tigers and allied vehicles, cash isn't really as big a deal for us in terms of cash flow. But for other clubs, clearly it's a challenge, because it's kind of hand to mouth a lot of the time in terms of paying your riders and paying other expenses that you've got every week. And it's vital that you get those crowds in, and that's why really we've seen some struggles from some clubs that have sadly, in Eastbourne's case, have gone, and there's a couple others that are clearly having challenging times, have had challenging times, and continue to have challenging times. So it is vital that we get fans through the door, and that we continue to grow the sport and increase the fans that are there.
And as we move away from 2021 and everything that that's happened, and we said right at the start of the season that really it was about survival and getting through this year, as we move in towards 2022 and a chance to reevaluate where we are, what would you hope to see? How would you like things to be in British Speedway as we move in towards next year and into the future?
I think that we need to be quite radical. Clearly there are some challenges around some clubs. So I think we need to think outside the box and come up with something that fans can get behind. We just don't want to. Ultimately, the fundamental product is good, assuming the tracks are good. In terms of the racing can be very exciting. We want to, clearly that's part of it. We want to keep that, but around the periphery of the rules, we want to make it. I think we want to keep it really simple. For fans, I think it needs to be simple to understand as we move forward, and want some exciting teams, exciting riders, whether that's young British youth coming through, because British riders will always make it, especially with the challenges now around Brexit. If you can get a British rider who can fill that spot, you're always going to do that now over a kind of European-based riders. But equally, we don't want to close the door on European riders, because we need more riders in this country. It's everyone bemoans the doubling up, I suppose, but you have doubling up because there aren't enough riders. So we want to bring more riders into the country as well as bring the British youth through. So, I just hope we can get something that's, keeps the basics there, but also, think outside the box, and something that's maybe a bit different, or that fans can get behind, that can be exciting as we move into next season.
Peter Facenna of the Glasgow Tigers with us this week on No Breaks, No Fear. More from Peter throughout the episode, and a special focus on the Championship in part 2. First, though, we're going to have a look back at the action from Monday night. The Premiership's top two faced up to each other. Wolves 42, Peterborough 48, and Wolverhampton's table-topping hopes hang in the balance after they were beaten by their closest rivals, Peterborough. Watching was Nigel Pearson.
Well, what can we say about Peterborough? That was a terrific performance at Wolverhampton, and everybody in the Peterborough side did a wonderful job. And Rob Lyon, you've got to give credit to the team manager as well for juggling his rider replacement outings and switching reserves at the right moments as well. I just felt that they had too much strength in depth, and they came on strong when it really mattered most. Wolverhampton, they still made pretty effective use of Rory Schline's rides. Of course, Rory out with COVID. Getting 8 points from his 4 programmed outings is not too bad at all. But obviously, there's 7 rides that you can give a strong reserve like Hans Andersen. Is so effective for Peterborough, and that will stand them in good stead for the playoffs. I personally feel now they will go on and finish top of the table. I personally feel they will get something from Sheffield away on Thursday. I do believe they'll win their final 2 home meetings against Sheffield and Kings Lynn, and then they can look ahead to the playoffs and select their choice of opponents. I don't feel that they will pick Bellevue. Bellevue are the only team to go to the showground and win this season. So I think it's between Wolverhampton and Sheffield that Peterborough will pick. But it's a fantastic story. We make this joke of the jest label of Dad's Army, don't we? But when you look at the team as well, they've raced against each other for 20 years. They've raced with each other. Bomber and Scott had wonderful times together at Coventry, and you can see the respect amongst the riders with Bjarne and Hans and Scott and Chris Harris, of course, as well. The younger generation coming in at the Rising Star, Drew Kemp did a pretty good job for Jordan Palin, I thought, and they were very good. How do Wolverhampton bounce back from this? Well, you have to have all 7 riders performing. If they do that in the playoffs, if it is Peterborough v Sheffield and Bellevue Wolverhampton, I believe Wolverhampton have got every chance over 2 legs against Bellevue. So it's not a lost cause, despite their first home defeat of the season. It's bad timing to get it in your final home league meeting. Peter Adams has always said it's all about timing. It's all about the timing of coming into top form, and Wolves have just lost for the first time at home this season. So that is something that they will be disappointed about, but for sure it was a tremendous performance from Peterborough, and I really enjoyed hosting and commentating the meeting. It was great, and we're back at Peterborough next Monday. Abby will be back off holidays, so you've got Abby back on the team next Monday night, which is great. Kelvin and me again talking you through the action, and we really enjoyed Wolverhampton last night. We thought it was nice and close, a tense battle, and hopefully it was a good watch for everybody at home, enjoying the action on Eurosport. So the next Eurosport broadcast is next Monday. It is Peterborough against Sheffield. If Peterborough gets something from Owlerton on Thursday, then next Monday could be the night. If they get 4 points at Sheffield on Thursday, or even 3, then next Monday could be the night when we see Peterborough confirmed as league leaders. So a big night ahead. That's the next Eurosport broadcast at 7:30 next Monday night.
As Nigel Pearson on No Breaks, No Fear. Peter Facenna of the Glasgow Tigers is with us throughout this episode. And Peter, now with that result and with Peterborough having those 3 matches in hand over Bellevue, it is going to be really theirs to lose now, you'd think, that top spot.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good meeting last night, and it's really a tale of the reserves. In terms of Wolverhampton, I think the reserves got 5+1, and Peterborough 16+2. So that's where the match was won and lost. A couple of Peterborough riders didn't even have good nights in terms of Scott and Bjarne, but with having hands at reserve and having Bomber, in the team who goes well at most places, that's really where it made a difference. And I think you're right. I think it's now in Peterborough's hands. But as we've seen through both leagues, really, anyone can win or lose home or away this season. I think we've seen that more than anywhere. Only Poole haven't lost at home. So anything can happen, really. But it's very much in Peterborough's hands now in terms of making sure that they finish top.
Well, let's hear from the top scorer for the Panthers on the night with 15 points from 6 rides. Here's Chris Harris speaking with Ryan Guest.
Well, Chris Harris, you knew what you got to do when you came here at Wolverhampton tonight, and a real classy team win means the table-topping hopes are still alive.
Yeah, we knew a result here would help. We weren't thinking too much about it. We just know that just keep plodding on what we're doing. So, great team performance again.
Yeah, this was Wolves' last meeting before the playoffs as well, so to come here and end their unbeaten home record, how much of a psychological blow to them could that be?
Yeah, it might be a little bit, but they're good riders as well, so they won't think too much about it, to be fair. They'll look at it and think we've got a good side as well. So, they'll regroup, I'm sure, for the playoffs, and be watching what we do over the next 3 meetings to see how the table finishes. Yeah,
this was something you threatened last time you were here, not so long back as well, wasn't it, by the Panthers?
Yeah, we pushed them hard last time, so I had an okay meeting, a better one tonight. So, Bjarne struggled a little bit tonight, but the rest of us all picked up. So, when all 6 of us all, click, some team might get a few points.
You mentioned yourself individually there as well. You've obviously had some memorable displays here at Monmore down the years, winning 5 of your 6 races in the style you did tonight. Is that one of your best ever?
Yeah, I felt good. I was just disappointed in my second one when I went running that last, but just didn't make the gate, and it was just riding it wrong. But the bike was working well. I felt good, so hopefully we can continue that till the end of the season. Yeah,
3 big fixtures coming up now before the playoffs, away and at home to Sheffield, rounding off at home to Kings Lynn as well, and like you say, a chance to top the table and get your choice of opponents in the semi-finals.
Yeah, as I said, we'll go Thursday and see how that goes, and then we'll worry about next week, the home ones next. So we'll just take it as it comes and enjoy it.
Well done tonight to you and the team, Bomber.
Okay, thank you.
It's Chris Harris speaking with Ryan Guest. Peter Facenna of the Glasgow Tigers is with us. Chris Harris is a rider who has ridden for the Glasgow Tigers in the past, and really that experience is really coming to the fore now for the Panthers, isn't it? And really starting to tell.
Absolutely, and the fact that they have been there for so long, they know all the circuits well. That it's not like they're going to any new tracks and going, well, I'm not sure here. They'll have the setups dialed in before they go. Obviously, track conditions will be different sometimes, but you know, they've got that vast experience, and as you said, it's a real strength when someone can drop at reserve. We saw that with Workington again in the Championship in 2018 when they won all 3 cups, and that was really from this set-up similar. You know, they always had a really strong rider as one of the reserves. So, you know, we've seen that, and the fact that Ulrich was so good at the start of the season, you know, put 3 points in his average. You know, they can all take one of his rides as well. So, you know, it's proving to be a real strong team and real strength and depth.
Well, let's hear from a rider who's no stranger to Scottish audiences. Sam Masters was the top scorer for Wolves on 12, and he's suggesting that a kick up the backside at this stage of the season might not be a bad thing. He's been speaking with Ryan Guest.
We're not too worried, really. I remember when we won the league here in 2016, Bellevue came here just a couple of weeks before the playoffs and give us a bit of a spanking at home, and when the final came here, we beat them by 18. So it's probably a good thing and kick us up the backside to keep on top of things, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's so important to kind of reset now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. We didn't have a full team. I know they don't, but they haven't for half the season, so they're used to it. We're not. We're just going to regroup. We know what we need to do. I had a bit of trouble with the engines. Didn't actually ride the one that I've been riding here all year, so at least I know that now.
Yeah. How much of a blow was it to be without Rory both on and off track tonight?
Yeah, he's just such a big help. Like, just to be here, really. His points obviously help on the track, but his knowledge in the pits is incredible too. So, yeah, we missed that a little bit. And I'm sure he was watching on the telly tonight and he can tell us where we went wrong.
Yeah, it's obviously out of the club's hands now whether you finish top of the regular standings or not and get the pick. Nevertheless, you've shown over the course of the season that you can beat anyone in this league over 2 legs.
Yeah, for sure. We've been good at home and away everywhere, really. So we're not really worried. In fact, I think hopefully we don't have the choice in I don't really care who we have. Better to be given someone and just deal with it.
There's Sam Masters speaking with Ryan Guest after that defeat against Peterborough at Monmore. Peter Facenna is with us throughout this episode. Peter, do you agree with that from Sam that, kick up the backside at this stage of the season? They've been undefeated at home throughout the season, of course, and now for that defeat to come. Is that the right time for a defeat if you're going to have one? Because not a lot rides on it, and of course, gives you that reminder before you get into the knockout section of the season.
Yeah, sometimes it is a good thing because you need to kind of check yourselves again and say, right, we need to go again here. We're not as invincible as you say, or as infallible as they maybe have been. I think they missed Rory. He's RR got 8 points, which is good, but I think they miss his influence in the pits as captain. And I think Brock had an off night for Brock. He's rides for us as well in the Championship, and Brock will bounce back. He's actually been in really good form, so I don't think anything is lost. I think Peter Adams is clearly a very astute and experienced manager, and I think despite this result, they will still go in full of confidence to the playoffs.
Let's hear the thoughts then of the two managers. Peter Adams in a moment, and first here's Rob Lyon. Tremendous
team effort. At some stage or other, everyone chipped in with some vital points. Strange really looking at the score chart. 10 race winners, but one or two last places, one or two boys did struggle, but they still chipped in with the odd point here and there, which was vital at the end of the day. Yeah, vital at the end of the day. Mention how this was Wolves' last fixture before the playoffs as well. Psychologically, how much could that play an advantage going into that business end? I wouldn't put too much emphasis on that, if I'm honest, because Wolves are undoubtedly a good side. They haven't been top of the league for a good part of the season for no reason, and they were just off it slightly tonight. Great result. Yeah, and it does put you in a real nice position now, knowing it's in your hands to finish top of the Premiership standings and get the choice of opponents in the semi-finals. Yeah, I've got to sit down and work out where we're at and what we need to do. I think we're pretty much certain what we need to do, but I just need to make sure. But yeah, it is in our hands. I just said to Brando, it's not. Yeah, it's great. It's nice to be able to be in that position where it's in our destiny. We've still got a long way to go. We've still got to go to Sheffield. We've still got 2 home meetings. If we manage to pull it off, it's great. But then we all start again anyway. So all it really does is give you, a bit of kudos for finishing top and having choice of dates and playoff opponents. But after that, it's back to square one again.
Peter, that was a gripping Speedway match. It was very, very intense. I don't think we've seen one as intense as that here this season, have we?
Well, it was always going to be a close affair, but it's disappointing to lose, not particularly for what it might mean in the playoffs for us, but we were very protective of our unbeaten home record here this season, so to trip at the final hurdle is hard to take, but they're a very good team.
You've got a little bit of a pause now while you wait and see what happens, I suppose.
Yeah, it's in Peterborough's hands now. They can catch us now. I've no doubt at all that they will, and then we have to wait and see where they want to go in the semi-final. And we'll have to pick up the pieces instead of being in control of the situation, which we would have been had we won here.
I must say, the crowd here have really taken to Lyon Flint. And it was, if there been the rising star he's about learning, that was a pretty tough curve, but he throws himself courageously into it. One of the fans like him.
Yeah, he rides with his heart very much on his sleeve, and the crowd love him, as you say, but some very, very difficult races for him here tonight. These are class opponents, and he's not at that level yet, but as you say, he's learning, every lap, and I'm sure he'll be a very bright star in the future.
Yeah, well, you can only get to be at that level by taking them on, I suppose.
Yeah, you learn far more by following better riders than you do by beating nobody. So, no, he's learning all the time, and he hasn't quite mastered this track yet, but he will with practice, and hopefully he'll be in our colours for a long time to come.
There's Peter Adams there speaking after that defeat for Wolves against Peterborough. And incidentally, we will hear from Lyon Flint before the end of this podcast, because he's lining up in the Under-19 Championship this Friday at Scunthorpe. Let's turn our attention right now to the National Speedway Stadium. Bellevue were in action against Kings Lynn. Bellevue 49, Kings Lynn 41, the final score. And it was watched by Dave Rowe.
Well, Bellevue completed their regular Premiership campaign with a 49-41 victory over Kings Lynn at the National Speedway Stadium. Dan Bewley scoring a fabulous 15-point maximum, whether from the gate or from behind. Bewley was in charge, and he twice passed Craig Cook in the closing part of the meeting to get the better of the Stars guest at number 1 and ensure the visitors would go home with nothing. Kings Lynn certainly had a rising star reserve in form. Connor Mountain was fantastic with 13 paid 15 from 7 rides, his best ever Premiership display. 3 race wins for Mountain and 2 successes over home star Brady Kurtz within that schedule. Mountain and Casper Anderson did put Kings Lynn into an early lead, 8-4 with a 5-1 in Heat 2. Bellevue hit back straight away with maximum points to Steve Worrell and Charles Wright, both past Eric Riss in Heat 3. And it was 2 5-1s from the Dan Bewley Giant Etheridge combination in Heat 6 and 10, which began to bring Bellevue clear. And then in race number 11, Tom Brennan repassed Ben Barker for third spot as the home side went 10 points in front. That lead was pegged in Heats 12 and 13. Bewley passing Cook in 13 after an early battle with Mountain, who had come in after Thomas Jorgensen had broken the tapes. But Kings Lynn kept in touch for a league point in Heat 14. All 4 riders in contention there, with Mountain coming out on top over Brennan, with Louis Kerr in third place to make it 46-38. The league point looked on for Kings Lynn in Heat 15, with Cook out in front and Thomas Jorgensen in third place. But Bewley wasn't to be denied. He swept through at the end of lap 3 to go past Cook, and that was a shared race to leave Kings Lynn just short of a league point. So 15 for Bewley, 10 plus 1 for an informed Steve Worrell, and 6 plus 2 from Jai Etheridge, who'll drop back to reserve on the reintroduction of Richie Worrell into the Bellevue team. That will come in time for the playoffs, so they could well be stronger when it comes to those crucial matches in a couple of weeks' time. And for Kings Lynn, plenty of encouragement, plenty of battling, especially that 13 paid 15 from Connor Mountain, but no reward at the end of the night. They complete their season with away trips to Sheffield and also to Peterborough. Final score then, Bellevue 49, Kings Lynn 41.
There's Dave Rowe, who was watching that match last night at the National Speedway Stadium. We'll hear from Mark Lemon and Connor Mountain shortly. First of all, Peter Facenna of the Glasgow Tigers is with us through the episode. And last night, another strong night for that man, Dan Bewley, with a 15-point maximum.
Yeah, I mean, Dan's just got so much talent. I didn't see the races, but, apparently the race with twice with Craig was phenomenal racing. And, he's clearly, in the playoff final in Poland and, are probably the favourites to win that. So it's really going to be a difficult decision who the British Speedway Nations team are going to be going into that in Manchester. It's got 3 riders to choose from for the senior spots. But, clearly on-form rider, kind of untouchable really around Bellevue, and it sounds like it was a good meeting with some good races.
Let's hear from the director of Speedway at Bellevue then. Here's Mark Lemon speaking with Dave Rowe.
When Dan Bewley's riding like that, it doesn't matter if he makes the gate or doesn't make the gate, he's going to come through. That was fantastic to watch.
Yeah, no, exactly. We kind of knew that probably gate 2 was better tonight, and we went for sort of more of a team approach in the last one, and it worked out quite well for him, but not so much for Steve Worrell, who before that was riding exceptionally well. But Dan, like I said, he's been on fire, loves this place, and it's so good to watch.
Your team obviously will get stronger in the playoffs because you have Richard to come back in a couple of weeks' time. That takes you back to your 1 to 7, and it moves Jai back to reserve.
Yeah, it's quite pleasing to know that Richard's come back from injury, and he's not 100% fit, but he's back scoring points for Edinburgh, and hopefully he'll build his comps up over the next couple of weeks, and obviously slot back straight into the team. So we're back, like I said, as the original 1 to 7. We went into the season at the start favourites, and obviously seems like a little bit of work to do, but I feel quite confident in the boys. I still have the belief in the boys they can do it, and I'm delighted to have the 1 to 7 back.
What we don't know yet is who you're going to face in the semi-finals, and we don't know who's going to come top yet, because Peterborough have upset everyone by winning at Wolves tonight, so that leaves it all still open, and you're going to have to wait for a week or so.
I don't mind waiting at all. It's obviously Peterborough riding a personal wave at the moment. On the hands in reserve. Sort of makes life a bit easier for them. They've been solid all year, to be fair. We beat them down there at Peterborough twice, so I'm not sure they're going to want to pick us, but it'll be interesting who does finish off. Obviously, it throws it wide open right now, but who it's going to be for us. We're in the playoffs. It doesn't matter. You've got to go there and you've got to win the average over the first semi-final to make the final. So we're not really bothered who our opposition is.
Mark Lemon speaking with Dave Rowe. You, with Glasgow, Peter, share one rider from Bellevue, and that's Tom Brennan, who's now part of your lineup. And I know that you've previously spoken, people might have seen it in the Speedway Star, how you heard Tom Brennan on this podcast a few months ago, and you were impressed with how he spoke, and of course all the support he's got behind him, and the fact that he's a really good rider as well. And it was that really convinced you to sign Tom, and now he's part of your lineup.
Absolutely. No, I was really impressed with Tom, first of all, when he came up to the FIM meeting, that race where he managed to beat Chris Holder, which was phenomenal. And then, even just a quick chat with him then, I could tell, he's very professional, he's very articulate, he speaks well, and as you say, he's really well backed, knows what he wants. Beats himself up when he doesn't do well, especially when he made our debut for Glasgow the other week. But very impressive. Clearly had a really good meeting for the under-21, and I think he'll just keep progressing. His career will keep progressing, and I think he's got all the potential to go all the way to the top in the sport. And you see Tom Brennan as part of your plans long term as well, not just for the rest of this season. Absolutely, that's what we'd love. I know Tom's keen for that. I mean, the only thing is scoring 20 points in Poland. I think there'll be a few people that'll be quite keen over there to
yeah, good point.
to get their hands into Tom. So we need to make sure we keep Tom on the British shores as long as we can, and that. Certainly we want that relationship with Tom. He loves our track. I think he'd done his time at Eastbourne. It's a very different track to Glasgow. He likes Bellevue, and I think Tom would probably say by his own admission that his form at Bellevue has been a bit indifferent. It's a different kind of track in terms of it's full gas the whole way rather than technical turning the bike. And I think that's good that Tom's got that. It means that when he goes to away trumps, whether it's Wolverhampton or whether it's Edinburgh in our league or whatever, he's got the ability to change his riding style to suit the track. Well, let's hear from another rising star in the Premier League then, and the opposite team of Tom Brennan last night was Connor Mountain, who was top scorer for the Kings Lynn Stars, actually putting away his best ever score of 13+2 in the Premiership, and he's been speaking with Dave Rowe.
Yeah, it's been a real cool night. Always love coming here. Yeah, it's a funny track. Obviously, some nights you can go really well, and others you just struggle all night. But no, it's a really enjoyable night tonight.
To beat Brady Kurtz twice, and wow, that race with Dan Bewley, I thought you were going to have carnage on the first bend. What went on there?
Yeah, definitely. Heat 13 was a close race between us all, and I had some decent speed down the inside, and I don't think Dan was expecting me to be there. And we just touched a little bit going into turn one, but no, it's cool racing all night, and really enjoyed it.
And that's that Heat 14 run again. All four were really close. I don't know how much you can see when you're out front, but everyone was swapping places. It's just great racing when it's like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's probably the best racetrack in the country. yeah, and it's really fun. And Louis helped me out a bit. He was sort of pushing me into the dirt, and got going then. And then Tom was there the next minute. It's an exciting race. But yeah, I enjoyed every one.
How do you feel overall? Obviously, it's been up and down. Team have had a really tough time. Have you learnt this year, or you feel you've made progress?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it's been a bit tough with Kings Lynn. Like you say, they've been a bit up and down, but yeah, just to end the season on having a good night. Like, this is all we can do now. Obviously, we can't make the playoffs, so we just enjoy every meeting and just learn from it.
Does it sort of whet your appetite for coming back and doing top league again next year, hopefully?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, it's what you need to be doing, racing both leagues in Britain, and that's definitely what I want to be doing.
There's Connor Mountain speaking after getting his best ever score in the Premiership. Regardless of which teams are involved, it is great, Peter, isn't it, that we've got so much British talent now. It's been long talked about that we've got these new stars coming through the system, and we are now starting to see them. We've mentioned Tom already, and we've mentioned Lyon Flint and Connor Mountain, another one now, and great for fans right across the country to see this young talent at tracks near them.
Definitely, it's important that we do develop British youth as we come through, because it's well talked about. The amount of doubling up we have, we don't have enough riders. So the more homegrown talent that we can have, the better. And even a level down from that, there's a lot of really talented younger kids coming through now. So I think in 7-8 years time from now, even maybe not as much, 5 years from now, we'll be in a really, really strong position with the amount of youth that's coming through at the next level as well.
And we'll hear from Drew Kemp and Lyon Flint ahead of that British Under-19 final at Scunthorpe this Friday later in the show. There's more Premiership action on Thursday as Sheffield host Peterborough, followed by the return on Monday, which will be the fixture which will be live on Eurosport next week. Crucial, of course, in deciding who's going to finish top of the Premiership, with Peterborough having those 3 matches in hand. Let's hear from Jack Holder of the Sheffield Tigers. He's been speaking with Phil Lanning.
To be elevated to being the spearhead of a side, there's more responsibility for you. Do you feel that's something that you've clearly taken on well points-wise, because something you like on your shoulders? You like that bit of extra?
Yeah, mate, it doesn't worry me too much. We're aiming the team, but it's always a privilege to be number one for the top league side. I'm just doing my job and trying to get the boys fired up so we can all do our jobs and win tonight, especially. Individually,
obviously you've not made it through to the Grand Prix. Is it important for you to take baby steps to get that place, or just stop yourself having too much expectation? Or do you go, I just want to get there and move on and progress?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. I've had a little taste of it, and something I can't handle. I did the 2 at Torrent last year, and it was more nerves than anything. I wanted to obviously do really good, but sometimes I try a little bit too hard. But I held my ground. I did myself proud, and it just wasn't my time this year. I'm really bummed about it, but what's next?
Just finally, overall, big picture, you're happy where Jack Holder is? It's been the last couple of years, you've sort of come out of your comfort zone a bit, a great deal. You were at Paul and Somerset, it was pretty much like you in the second tier still.
Yeah.
Now you're at Torrent, Sheffield, you're a spearhead, and you're on the verge of Grand Prix. And are you happy where you're at? Are you happy within yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to be in that Grand Prix because I know I'm good enough for it.
Will you stay at Torrent, do you think?
Yeah.
You will. So that's good to have that consistency. And would you? It's a hard question. Will you stay at Sheffield if the opportunity comes up?
Yeah,
it's a winter's a long time in Britain.
Exactly, mate. It's hard to say what Holland are doing. They take priority there, making all these rules, So it's hard to say, but of course I want to live in England, so.
Hopefully seeing Jack Holder back here on these shores next year then, fingers crossed. For Sheffield fans, not a right lot riding on this fixture, but for Peterborough have vital importance if they're to finish the top of the Premiership table and have that choice of who they face in the playoffs. It's going to be a big 5 days for Peterborough fans, isn't it, Peter, with this fixture? First away at Sheffield, where they've already won once this season, and then back in front of the TV cameras on Monday night on their home track.
Absolutely. I mean, if they've got two home fixtures and this away fixture on Thursday, so if they pick up something on Thursday at Sheffield, then it's totally within their own hands. Win the last 2 home fixtures and they finish top. So, but as I said, Sheffield are a good team as well. Troy Batchelor's now seems to be kicking on and coming into a bit of form that wasn't there at the start of the season. So, who knows what will happen? Anyone can take points off anyone, I think.
And finally, for this section, is the Premiership on the agenda for the Glasgow Tigers? It's been said by a number of people over the year, really, that a team like yours, a team as successful as yours, with a stadium like yours, with the presentation, the branding that you have, the way that you put yourself across, would be a great addition to that league. Is it something that's on your agenda, on your minds potentially for the future?
It's something we would consider. There's a lot going on in the mix just now in terms of behind the scenes discussions about what next year is going to look like. Clearly there are the doubling up challenges that we've got. A lot of people say to me, will it be one big league? Will it be one big league? But ultimately, just now, there aren't enough riders for it to be one big league. Race night's something that's important to us. Having to go to the ISLB race nights on Mondays or Thursdays is something we would have to consider. We would need to look at, what additional income came from television against, paying riders more. And that's the kind of ironic thing for me, that basically it's the same riders, but they get paid more when they ride for the top league. And because that's the case, it's not necessarily going to grow our fan base. It's just going to grow your outgoing expenses. So we need to basically put the whole thing into a mix and say, well, what's the additional revenue from TV? What's the additional outgoings in terms of to keep the same riders or to get, even top riders? But we've not won the championship yet under certainly our family haven't won. The last time Glasgow won was 2011. So that's something we want to do before we consider going to a different league. But there certainly would be a lot to consider. We're pretty happy with where we are now, but ultimately we'll see what comes out in the wash before the end of the season in terms of how it's going to look next year.
Peter Facenna, director at Glasgow Tigers, with us throughout this episode of No Breaks, No Fear, and it's to the championship that we turn our focus next. And we'll talk about a bit of what it's like to run a speedway club, the things that you have to do as a promoter to try and get people through the gates and really make it exciting and make the whole sport an experience. We'll talk more about that. And of course, it's a key week for Glasgow as well, because they face up to Leicester. Leicester have got Redcar and Glasgow to race against heading in towards this weekend, and that is going to decide who automatically qualifies for the championship semi-finals, you fancy. So we'll speak more about that in the next part of No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along, I'm Ian Brannan. In this week's episode, we're joined by Peter Facenna, who's the boss of the Glasgow Tigers. And it's a big week for the championship. I'll just explain how the playoffs work in the championship if you're not aware, because it's the top 6 who qualify in the championship, unlike the Premiership where it's the top 4. But also unlike the Premiership, the top 2 go automatically through to the semi-finals. So if you finish 3rd, 4th, 5th or 6th, you race an extra meeting to decide who goes through to a semi-final. So, of course, there are some teams who can make that second spot. Poole are already guaranteed to be one of the top 2, and it's between Redcar, Glasgow, and Leicester. And Leicester race against, guess who? Redcar and Glasgow heading in towards this weekend. Redcar on Friday and Glasgow on Sunday. So we're going to talk more about that very soon, and we'll hear from Ryan Douglas of Leicester as well ahead of that fixture. But first, Peter, just want to talk about some of the things that you have to do as a promoter. I mean, it's a very difficult job being a promoter. As we well know, there's lots of things that you have to consider, but not least, how do you vie for people's time to get them through the gates in the first place? There are so many distractions, so many ways now that you can spend your evening and spend your money, of course, as well, some of which don't even involve leaving your house. How do you compete with the various other forms of entertainment that there are and get people to experience Speedway and get them through the turnstiles?
It is difficult. There is so much competition out there in terms of what else you can do with your time, as you say. I think social media's got a big part to play in it. Younger people tend to be on social media. We've certainly focused a lot on that since in our time at the club in terms of trying to hook people in. But it's not just about followers. It's about making sure that you advertise Speedway properly. Diehard fans will come and they get it. But for new fans, it's things like showing people that you can have a drink, because if you go to football, as you know, drink during the match, and it's very restricted, and the crowds are segregated and everything. But with Speedway, it is that family friendly atmosphere. I think most clubs now have got a mascot, which I think you need. We do a kids race as well. And there's families that get dragged back by their kid every week just to race against Rory the Tiger in our case. And I think most clubs now have mascots, and if they don't, I would certainly recommend that they do, because we need to bring that next generation of fans to Speedway. There's no doubt it is quite an elderly fan base throughout the country. So we need to do as much as we can to get a new kind of generation of supporters along that will hopefully get hooked at a young age, and then they will become the diehards as we move forward.
Yeah, word of mouth, they always say, is the best form of advertising, isn't it? And what about the sort of what you call maybe non-traditional ways of promoting the club? And we touched on the social media aspect, but of course you're doing live streams as well, which a few clubs are now getting involved in, and that is not an easy thing to set up and do well. It's a tricky thing to perfect. And of course the branding, it's all about, you've got all the clothes and the things that you can buy, hats, scarves, shirts. Yep. And the riders are always, for Glasgow, any of the social media, they're always decked out in the colours and things like that. So it's getting your head around running a brand, I imagine, as well as the Speedway team.
It is, and it's something that when we came along to 2015, the club weren't great at that. Clearly they had to live within their means, to be fair to the people that were there, but the devil is in the detail for me. It's the riders will tell you, even if they go out, if we've won a match, if one of them's got their Kevlars tied around their waist, it's like, get your Kevlars on, we're taking one picture, we've got our sponsors. We always want to look really like a polished professional outfit that you would see in other sports. So, again, if someone comes in track walk, they have to be wearing the right gear to make sure that we all look like a uniform team and that we are a team, because Speedway is kind of unique that it's a team of it's a group of individuals that make a team, the way the riders get paid as opposed to other sports. So it's important that you do that to make sure that there is that team ethos in it, and that you become a team, and that it's a very professional looking outfit. The live stream was something that we'd been thinking about over the last few years, but just with the COVID restrictions we were forced to bring it forward much quicker. It was successful at the start. As I say, we certainly didn't make the same amount of income as we would have with fans in the stadium. Now the number of views have dwindled, and for us it's kind of breaking even, because we do put an expense into it in terms of how we produce it. We believe that it is a real quality production with multiple cameras and commentary and everything else. But hopefully when we get to the playoff time, we'll get those views back up with people, other fans of other clubs, looking at that. And it's not just Glasgow, Edinburgh, I have to say, have really led the way with the live streaming first and foremost. And the Red Car now are going to stream their match on Friday, which is good. I'll be watching that. So it's great that Championship fans have got the ability now to watch other fixtures, especially when their own team isn't racing on that night.
Yeah, I'm commentating for the Red Car match actually on Friday as well, so it'll be an interesting escapade. But in the rehearsals and things that they've done, it does look really smart, and I think it's and certainly for Red Car, they've worked all season at trying to perfect what Glasgow have been doing and what Edinburgh have been doing, and it's been a sort of a team effort, and they've really worked hard to make it look good. I think it does look, pretty smart, and I hope that people enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. And the good thing is, again, and what I would say is that the racing needs to be exciting. Red Car it is. They've got a really good track, and I think when you talk about clubs that have maybe struggled, the product has to be right. Ultimately, the product is, four guys, belting around the track, racing each other, and you want to see passing. And I know, maybe we're fortunate with the shape of Glasgow and how it's prepared and everything that we've got that. And I know some clubs that you have to deal with what the shape of your track is. But that's got to be key, the track preparation. We've seen over this season the amount of challenges some tracks have had in terms of riders getting injured or the referee, asking tracks to be modified. It's important that and I know also, to be fair, some clubs they maybe don't have access to the stadium in the same way we do, that we can get on any time. But it's so important that the product's right to bring new fans, because if you bring new fans along and it's a race to the first corner, they're not going to be excited by that. They're going to go home and say, yeah, it was okay, it was loud, it was noisy, I liked the smell, but after the first bend, nothing happened. So we need to try and do as much as we can to make sure that the racing, that ultimately the product is good, and that'll bring in new fans.
Well, it is a big weekend ahead, and it involves Glasgow, Redcar, and particularly Leicester, because Leicester have got probably the biggest of the weekends, because they're on the road and they need the wins as they chase the top 2 finish, as of course Glasgow are chasing that top 2 finish as well as our Redcar, versus Redcar on Friday for Leicester, and then at Glasgow on the Sunday. It is all to play for and very, very tight, and it is all going to be sorted by the end of this weekend, you'd think.
Yeah, I see Leicester's meeting at Kent tonight's been postponed, unfortunately, with the weather, so that would have given us a steer to how Leicester were going to finish in that first match, because they clearly need to pick up some away points. But for us, we've got 2 home fixtures left. We've got Leicester and we've got Birmingham. If we win those 2 fixtures, and assuming Redcar aren't able to win at Poole, then we should finish second. So that's what our focus is. But other results can go for us or go against us. And clearly, with us winning our home 2 fixtures, it means that Leicester don't win that away fixture against Glasgow. So we just need to wait and see how it plays out. We just need to focus on making sure that we win our next 2 home fixtures. Sunday will certainly be a challenge. Leicester are a very, very strong team. Certainly the top 4 are very strong, and it'll be a tough fixture. But we look forward to it. We relish the challenge.
Well, let's hear from one of the stars of the Leicester Lions. Ryan Douglas is fired up and ready for an exciting week ahead in the Championship.
Well, yeah, obviously the Championship action coming thick and fast in the business end of this season now. Saturday night against Edinburgh, certainly a hard-fought win for the team in the end.
Yeah, it was. It was always a bit of a worry them coming. Like Sam and Pico's had a couple of goes there, and obviously Richie used to ride there, so it was always a little bit tough on paper. But I think we were pretty in control most of the meeting. At the end there, they made it look a bit close than it probably was. But no, at the end of the day, we're happy with that win and good confidence booster.
Kent away on Tuesday night. Looking ahead to the weekend, though, it is going to be a crucial one. When you look at the Championship standings at the minute, everyone knows now the top 2 go straight through to the semi-finals, 3rd to 6th the quarter-finals, and away trips to Redcar on Friday and Glasgow on Sunday. It is going to be a massive weekend for that quest.
Yeah, it is. We need to pick up some points away if we want to finish in that top 2, especially at Redcar. I think if we can get a win there, it gives us a good chance, and I think we've got a team that can go well there. So we're obviously looking to do that, but at the end of the day, we just want to be in the playoffs, and whatever happens.
Yeah, it really has shaped up to be an exciting Championship campaign as well. It's been really competitive between those top band of clubs, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely not certain who's going to win this year. There's probably four or five clubs that can probably do it. So it's nothing's been for sure yet, but I think we know we can be good enough if it goes our way, so we'll just try and do our best and see what happens.
Yeah, in between those 2 big away meetings as well in the league, you've got a knockout cup tie to look forward to back at Beaumont Park against Poole as well. Obviously it's going to be one hell of a clash anyway between those 2 sides, but when you consider what Poole did last time they came there in the league as well, that must set it up even more nicely.
Yeah, they obviously got the double on us last time, home and away, so we definitely want to change that, and at the end of the day, even in the normal league, we might have to go there against them again. So it'd be good to get a rematch against them now and see how we compare this time. But we're definitely looking to get the home win and be a lot more competitive away.
Another great episode of Ryan on Ryan there, with Ryan Guest speaking to Ryan Douglas of the Leicester Lions. Leicester in action this week on Friday against Redcar and on Sunday against Glasgow. And by the time we get through the weekend, we'll know a lot more about how the Championship playoffs are going to look. Peter Facenna, the Glasgow Tigers boss, is with us. And Peter, once you get into the playoffs, though, it's anybody's guess who's going to come out as the victors, isn't it, really? Because we know that any side on their day can beat each other.
Absolutely. And Edinburgh have definitely strengthened up. So, again, they've got a real strong top end, and their away form tends to have been better than their home form. So, now that Edinburgh have more or less guaranteed the playoffs, they could be the dark horse, if you like. They could be really strong. Leicester really strong. Poole have been, unbeatable at home. So, again, a really strong top 3. Scunthorpe have been very strong at home. Redcar have got riders that can win home and away. So, yeah, it could be very interesting. I just hope that everyone gets through it. All the riders stay fit, and that it's a fair contest for everyone with their full team is the main thing.
Well, Edinburgh Monarchs managed to get that win against Newcastle last weekend. They go to Birmingham next, and they are all but assured a place in the playoffs. You can't see them not qualifying now. It's not mathematically certain, but the chances of it going wrong at this stage, you'd fancy are pretty slim. Let's hear from the Edinburgh Monarchs captain, Sam Masters. He thinks that with the return of Richie Worrell, that they'll be a force to be reckoned with wherever they may get sent in the playoffs.
We've been pretty good away anyway this year. Like we'd won down in Eastbourne. They were a pretty tough team. We've picked up points at Kent and other tracks like that where it's been tough. So we're actually probably better away, really, consistently than what we have been at home. So keep that going, and that'll be good over 2 legs for us.
You would have known how important it was to try and do everything to get the win at Newcastle with the season they've had. Obviously, you've touched upon how touch and go it was, but no disrespect to Newcastle and their top-end riders. When you did look at those last few races, must have fancied your chances to nicking it like you did in the end.
Yeah, well, I wasn't really going too good during the meeting there, and we all actually started struggling at one point, but then I sort of got it dialed in at the end myself, and Richie was pretty good all night, really. So to have us in Heat 15 was good, and got the 5-1 and got the job done, which was awesome and makes me a happy captain.
Yeah, and that was something you touched upon last week as well, obviously. It had been a tough few weeks without Richie Worrell on the sidelines, a positive impact on his return as well.
Yeah, straight away, first heat at Edinburgh, he passed Rhys, and I knew that's what we'd been missing, you know. So, yeah, he's awesome to have back in the team, and yeah, we need that. We can't just win with the riders that we got. We need Richie because he's experienced and he's really good at every track. So, we needed him, and he's back now, which is good, and hopefully we can it stays that way.
Well, Sam Masters there bigging up Richie Worrell, but not to say that Sam Masters isn't going to be the difference for the Edinburgh Monarchs. He's had a phenomenal year, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Sam's a top class rider, and he's got brilliant backup from Richie and Josh Pickering as well now. You know, in terms of whoever's in that Heat 15, home or away, you've got a real chance of getting a heat advantage. You know, they have been really strong. You know, I think they've obviously struggled at the lower end of their team, and they've made quite a few changes there, and you know, it'll be interesting to see who they're able to use towards the end of the season. Anders Rowe's out now. I don't know how long Anders Rowe's out for. And obviously the reserves would need to pick up 3 if Anders rides. So it's going to be key, the guests that they use between now and the end of the season. Obviously they picked a very good one in Connor Bailey on Sunday, the Glasgow rider, to help them at Newcastle. But clearly as you go into the playoffs, as you know, you can't use guests from the other teams that are in the playoffs, so it will be interesting. But certainly with the top 3 they've got, and you know, with that home track advantage, they'll certainly be a force to be reckoned with.
Well, let's listen now to a chat with Bjarne Pedersen, who's been on a bit of a farewell tour of British Speedway, and he rode his last meeting at championship level for Plymouth against Glasgow last weekend. And here he is chatting with Ryan Guest.
Well, yeah, on your return to British Speedway in 2021, obviously decided to move into the championship with the Plymouth Gladiators. That season is now done in the second tier. How was it overall?
I really enjoyed. It was a great club to be a part of, a little great club to be part of. They've really done well this year, you know. They just come into the league for the first time and need to found a base, so I'm sure they got something to build on from this year.
Yeah, the Gladiators certainly grew stronger as the season went on. Particularly those home fixtures, though, seem to have plenty last heat deciders to pile the pressure on yourself in Heat 15.
Yeah, there was plenty time there was a late heat decider. I think that, you know, if you look at the start of the season, Jason Weaver was taking most of all the points up in the team, so there was not too much to build around. So when we get us the normal average, there was space to move a little bit around in the team, and that make us stronger in the end. But even before that, you know, we will start winning some home meetings. So that was was good. You know, there was a great atmosphere at this little stadium.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously there were a lot of riders in the team who were making their debuts in British Speedway this year as well, and it was something you were looking forward to in helping them develop. And I think in the final few weeks of the season, with the likes of Dylan Rummel and Zach Cook in particular, started to see what they are capable of.
Yeah, I think, you know, we was struggling a little bit in the start of the season, but I think after 3 home meetings, the rest of the boys will start clicking in with some punt, and after that we will start winning home meetings. So they make a big difference, and all, like, you know, it is a small tricky track down there. So I think just everyone really just need to find the feet and start from there. So. I think everyone in the team really did well. It was a great team to be a part of.
And it must have been nice to go back to Poole with the Gladiators as well. And what a reception for yourself down at Wimborne Road.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. You know, still a smile on my face for it. I couldn't ask for any more. I didn't expect that. So it was. It probably take a bit of my racing focus head off down there, but that is always great to come back to Poole.
Yeah, and just finally, just as a summary of the championship, obviously it's a much stronger second division in British Speedway now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's nearly, you know, it is the same rider, but it's in the top league to the second one over here. So it's not any easy races. You need to give 100% to make a punt. So don't matter which league you're in.
There's Bjarne Pedersen. Now his final appearance at championship level was at Peter Facenna's track, Glasgow Tigers at Ashfield Stadium. Just a word about Bjarne, how great it's been to see him around some tracks that in some cases he's never been to before in his life, and for championship fans to be able to see a rider like that on their tracks has been fantastic this year.
Absolutely, it's been brilliant to see him, you know, and when you watch him ride you think, why are you hanging up your boots at this point, because you know, he's still got it, absolutely. You know, when we were down at Plymouth, he was brilliant. He was their best rider on Friday at Glasgow. Certainly looks fit. You know, always comes well prepared, very professional, and it's great for the fans to see him one last time before he does retire.
Yeah, all the very best to Bjarne Pedersen. Of course, he could still win a league title yet with Peterborough Panthers, so he's not quite done in British Speedway just yet. On the way then, more from Peter Facenna of the Glasgow Tigers on what it's like running a club, his advice for would-be promoters, and also his hopes on how Speedway might look as we head in towards 2022. Stay around for that. And we're also going to preview one of the other big meetings which is taking place this Friday, and that's the British Under-19 final at Scunthorpe, featuring a host of young stars, Dan Gilks, Anders Rowe, hopefully, Drew Kemp and Lyon Flint, all involved, and we'll hear from those two, Drew Kemp, who's the defending champion, and Lyon Flint, next on No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. I'm Ian Brannan. We're going to talk about the Under-19 Championship at Scunthorpe in a few moments. Peter Facenna of the Glasgow Tigers is with us. And I just want to pick your mind really when it comes to team building, signing riders and that kind of side of Speedway. When you're first putting your team together at the start of the season, do you hope that is the team that's going to see you all the way through the season, or do you, for whatever reason, keep a few points up your sleeve, knowing that certain things may change within your team in sort of how the riding order maybe is going to go, or hoping that you can swap riders out when you get to the playoffs like you are now, and other riders have become available? How much is strategy involved in this?
I think for us, that, you know, we built our team based on looking to have a strong reserve all season, and we build a team, you know, at the start of the season that you want to have that team right through to the whole season. You know, clearly injuries play a part. You know, in 2019, Paul Stark got injured in the British final, and that really impacted our chances that year. This year, you know, Ulrich was flying for us. I mean, Ulrich was started off on a 5.98 in the championship. He'd already gone up to a 7.96, but was actually riding to 8.7 or something like that. So it was really difficult for us to find a replacement for Ulrich. Certainly someone's in the UK, and as you've touched on with Brexit, it's much more challenging now to bring a rider in from Europe in terms of, you know, the visa requirements, and you have to get an English test, a certificate of sponsorship, and then ultimately wait and getting the visa, and there's additional costs for that because you now have to pay a healthcare surcharge. So it is much more difficult now to bring a rider in from Europe who hasn't ridden the UK before, certainly, or wasn't able to be one of the ones that got the Frontier Workers Permit. But we just we start off not really knowing how the riders are go. But as you say, it's very much riders who you think are, on a false average for what they either have achieved in the past or what we believe they've got the potential to achieve. So ours was a mix of experience in terms of people who did have higher averages, and also a mix of kind of youth, people that we believed could come in, and we're really going to get them at the right time where they took that big jump.
And you have made changes. We've mentioned Tom Brennan already. Another one, of course, is Marcin Nowak as well, who's recently joined you, who's coming from Poland. What are the other benefits of having a Polish rider? Because we saw that there was big support for Tobias Musilak in that FIM qualifier. What was the thinking behind bringing him in? Because there's not many Polish riders in our league, if any, really. We've got other riders that ride in Poland, but he's one of the few actual Polish riders in the British League at the moment.
No, I think for us, there was huge support, as you say, at the FIM event for Tobias Musilak, who got a maximum that day. We do have a number of Polish fans that have always come to Glasgow, but certainly even on Friday there when Marcin made his debut, they were much more vocal and much more noticeable, and that was part of the consideration when we decided to bring Marcin in. It wasn't just about what Marcin can bring on the track, it was about what it would bring having a Polish rider, both in terms of the local community in Glasgow. We as you say, we do have a big Polish community in Glasgow, and also with the live streams, if we get more people following the live or watching the live stream from abroad as well. So we've set up a separate Polish Facebook page for Glasgow Tigers. It's all in Polish. So that's kind of our one way that we are trying to attract more Polish fans to come to Glasgow. I guess Speedway is so accessible in Poland. The ticket prices are much lower. You can watch it on TV whenever you want. So it's maybe some Polish fans think, well, I'm not going to pay £17, £20 or whatever it is to watch Speedway in the UK. I don't know, but certainly they are great fans when you've got them because they are so vocal. They do really help create a brilliant atmosphere when you've got Polish fans in the stadium.
Yeah, I know that from after the FIM event, because Phil Lanning was doing interviews with the guys on the top three, and the only thing that was a constant all the way through these interviews were these Polish guys that were shouting 25-30 minutes afterwards. It was still going.
That was brilliant. It was really, really good. And the more of that we can get, the better, because that's what you want. You want to create a really good atmosphere at the meetings, and I say that's what will attract new fans to come back.
And with that in mind, have you already got an idea roughly of where you may be for next season? Has your team building already begun for 2022?
Yeah, I mean, there's we kind of make when I say a short list, I think our short list's up to about 12 riders now. We keep saying that we've got an idea of who we would like to see in Glasgow colours, but at the moment there's so much up in the air in terms of what the points limit will be, what the league structure will be, that it's very difficult to put any firm plans in place. But we certainly want to have an exciting team of racers next year, and we'll set out like we do every year to win. We've been consistent. We've made the playoffs every year since we've had the club. We've been in 2 or 3 finals, and we just want to keep going on that success, and hopefully we can keep knocking on the door, and the door will eventually open, and we can win that championship. But certainly we'll always come to tapes with an exciting team that the fans can get behind.
And we're about to talk about the under-19 scene. As a club promoter, what's your scouting network like? How do you go around spotting the next generation of talent from all of the junior leagues and things that there are? Of course, you've got the National Development League, but how do you keep your ear to the ground and find out about these new exciting talents when they do become available?
You hear, you see the meetings, you see the results, you try and go where you can, but really it's kind of National League, 15 even before that, in terms of the junior leagues. And we've got certain people that are much closer to that feed back to us, and that was one of the ways we were able to get Connor Bailey from Australia, because we had contacts there that said, there's a young kid here that's doing very well, and fortunately he had British ancestry. His mum's born in Britain, so he was able to get a UK passport, which meant he was then qualified for the National League, and meant that at that point he was able to come in a 2-point average, as opposed to if he'd been Australian it would have been a 4-point average. So you kind of keep your ear to the ground, and you've got people that are close to me who are saying, well, have you thought about this chap, or look at that chap? And then, you just see the results. And there's young kids that, certainly in our time at the club, you see them develop. So you see the Kyle Bickleys riding at Glasgow, you see the Lyon Flints, so these kids are going to come through and be very powerful as they get older.
The under-19 final is happening this weekend on Friday night at Scunthorpe. So if you're in the area, definitely want to check out, because there's all sorts of talent on show there. The current champion is Drew Kemp. He's going for a third win on the bounce. And here he is speaking with Ryan Guest.
Yeah, this Friday we try again with the British under-19 final at Scunthorpe. Obviously something you want to make it a third attempt of, successfully defending it for the past two occasions.
Yeah, obviously I'm going in to win it this year, and it's obviously at Scunthorpe now, which is obviously where I won it last year. So yeah, going in to win it, and I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself. Really, it's important to go and enjoy it really, rather than overthink it and mess up. So going in there with a clear head and as though I haven't won it for the last 2 years, think that I've come second or something like that, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, nevertheless, it's always nice to add more and more to your CV as early as you possibly can.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever done it 3 years in a row, so it definitely would be nice to be the first person to do that. So it's always nice to add a title to your name, and it's always nice to be British champion, especially after the year I've had this year. It hasn't been too good, so that would really sort of give me hope and sort of tell me that the season wasn't as bad as what it has been.
Yeah, as you've touched upon there, it hasn't quite gone the way you've liked. Obviously, it was a difficult one with the way everything ended up with Ipswich in the Premiership, and then everyone knows about the Eastbourne situation by now. So it must have been testing at times.
Yeah, it has been pretty mentally challenging, and it was pretty similar to what happened in 2019. And I feel like a lot of people, if they had the season that I have been having, that maybe they would quit, but that's not me. At the end of the day, I'm a racer, and I haven't been brought up to quit, and I know what goals I want in Speedway, and that's further down the line. So I feel at the moment this is obviously all part of the learning process, with teams wise, and I've learned a lot this year, mainly off track than off track with my decisions and what I've done. So I definitely think these last 2 years or 3 years even, after last year, it's going to be something that I really sort of is going to help me with my experience wise, and hopefully progress further as a rider.
Drew Kemp there, of course, now of the Edinburgh Monarchs for the remainder of this season, and he came so close to winning the under-21 title against your Tom Brennan as well. He was in the final there, and it came right down to the line. He was that close, and I know that's his aim for next year, but being the under-19 champion for a third time will still be a great accolade for his year, won't it?
Very impressive, yeah. No, he's a good rider, Drew, and if he hits the front, he's very, very hard to catch. So it'll be an interesting meeting on Friday, and with so much youth, I suppose, and enthusiasm. These meetings are always interesting. Everyone's desperate to do well, so it'll be an exciting meeting, and hopefully lots of people go along to watch it.
And the families as well. I think it was the under-21s when I was at Redcar for that Drew Kemp, and I was stood near Drew Kemp's mum, and it was just watching him going round and different, and willing him on and all this, and you forget how much the families are invested in all of this. Yeah. It's not just the kids going off riding their bikes, it's a full-time job, isn't it?
Absolutely. With the travel involved in Speedway, especially before some of these kids have got a driving licence, it's the family that are leaving work early on a Friday or driving to Glasgow on a Saturday from the deepest down south, or we would say is down south. So absolutely they're all invested in it, so it becomes very passionate.
Another of the guys who's going for that title is Lyon Flint, and he's been speaking with Ryan Guest as well.
Well, yeah, Lyon this Friday, second attempt at the British Under-19 final. I know you were a bit frustrated when it was rained off at Mildenhall, particularly being one of the favourites and with a win under your belt in your only ride of the day.
Yeah, it was a bit gutted it got cancelled. I don't really believe it should have been, but still going into this one with the same attitude, plenty positive thoughts going into it, and we're aiming out to come away with a win.
Yeah, like you say, we all know about what you achieved as a junior racer, won everything on the British youth front. I now guess it's that dream to finally put that first major individual honour on the CV.
Yeah, that's a plan. Just gonna go there with mind, try try different things, and yeah, like I say, hopefully we'll come away with a big W.
Yeah, obviously Drew Kemp, reigning back-to-back champion. He won it at Scunthorpe as well last time, so he's certainly going to be one of your main opponents in that.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, last year I didn't really have that much riding and stuff like that, but this year's been totally different. Plenty of meetings under my belt and plenty of good results under my belt as well, so you know, going in confident, and yeah, we'll just have to see what happens.
Lyon Flint's had a really good year, I think. However, he goes on Friday night in the under-19 final because he's become part of the GB team. He's got that place with Wolves, and of course has had a great season with Berwick on a personal level as well. And again, another great example of progression through the British system.
Yeah, Leon's got so much potential. You know, I thought he rode really well last night. You know, I think he deserved more than the 4 points that he got. And you've said that a couple of times at Leon. He does give it everything. You know, and it was the same down at Berwick on Saturday night when we were there. So, you know, I think again Leon's a rider like Tom that I think has got all the potential to go to the very top of the sport.
Let's have a look at the fixtures then for the week ahead. Wednesday is your next Speedway in the Championship, Birmingham versus Edinburgh. Not a great deal riding on that one particularly, but Edinburgh could cement their place officially in the playoffs. On Thursday, Sheffield versus Peterborough. Of course, we've mentioned that already, but that's going to be one that Peterborough are desperate to win to close that gap on Wolves. Friday night, it's the British Under-19 final at Scunthorpe, and also Redcar versus Leicester, which is a massive fixture and has an impact on Glasgow, depending on how that goes for that second position. So you'll be watching that for more than just to see how the live stream goes. You've got a personal interest in that one.
Yep, no, definitely. We'll be keeping a close eye on that one.
And over at Armadale, it's National Development League, Armadale versus Kent. Saturday, Leicester versus Poole. That's in the Knockout Cup semi-final. That's the first leg of that. And British Youth Championships at Plymouth. And Sunday, Glasgow versus Leicester, which, again, we don't need to big that up particularly, but that is going to be a huge evening at Ashfield.
Yeah, no, 100%. Especially if Leicester can win at Redcar on Friday, it makes it even bigger. So yeah, it'll be a good meeting. It was obviously a replay of the 2019 final. So it'll be a really, really good meeting. Good to see Hans Andersen at Glasgow again. He only did a couple of races there at the FIM qualifier in 2019. So it'll be good to see him go around Glasgow as well. And you know, again, they've got riders. Nick Morris has been a Glasgow rider before. So they've got riders that can ride our place really well. You know, we're excited about our team now. You know, we took a bit of a dip when we lost Dooley, and now we've made some team changes. We're excited about Marson, what he can do. He did a brilliant debut at home last Friday. So no, it should be a good meeting.
The other fixtures then, Newcastle versus Birmingham. We hope that is not the last meeting at Brough Park. We'll have to wait and see on that, but currently that is going to be the final meeting, certainly for this season and for this promotion. If anybody is listening to this, I mean, there's lots of fans who will say, well, you know, why doesn't so-and-so run a Speedway club? What are the sort of things to consider if you're planning on taking over a Speedway club? If as Newcastle is up for sale, if there's anybody who's interested in having that conversation, what would be your advice in terms of the considerations that you should be looking at for taking over a Speedway team?
First of all, you need to have the passion for it. You need to know that you need to be fully committed to it. We've got a team, so you know, in my role at Allied, I can't be fully committed to it, but we've got a team of people here, but it still is a lot of work. You're still constantly busy with it. I think that you need to make sure that, you know, if you're going to come to tapes, you need to make sure that you've got the finances there, that when you do your business plan, that you will be able to, you know, do the full season. You'll be able to pay your riders, you'll be able to pay whatever other expenses that you've got, and you know, get other people involved. You know, we don't have the monopoly on the ideas. You know, we've got one chap, Robert, now, who looks after our social media and also has a role at Allied. But before that, when we first took over the club, even then I would say our social media was ahead of the game, and that was just volunteers. That was just people who were passionate, who understood it. Because let's be honest, the average age of the promoters around the UK, we're not young. In terms of Instagram and Snapchat and all these things, TikTok, I think is probably a foreign language to a lot of people. And hand the reins over to someone that can do that, because young people spend their time looking at screens now. So get a good team around about you. Understand how you're going to promote it. Get the merchandise, all the things we've talked about, all the things that can give you that little bit of extra income. And just try and create something fresh and new and positive, and promote it well. Have the track good, so the racing's good. Have a slick presentation, because again, that's what will bring people back. So that'd be my advice.
Hopefully, somebody can take that advice on and bring some life to Newcastle, because one of the great historic clubs really of British Speedway as well. They've been around a very long time, and it'd be a big miss to not have them involved. No, absolutely. I think it's 90 years is the anniversary, so it's it'd be a shame for them not to run next year or in future. So hopefully someone can pick up the mantle and take that forward. The other fixture on Sunday, Mildenhall versus the ex-Mildenhall Fen Tigers, a challenge meeting on Sunday afternoon. And then back to Monday, Eurosport, and it all rides on the one between Peterborough and Sheffield, you would think. And certainly going to be a nervous watch for Peter Adams, that one, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's going to be an interesting fixture, and see where it ends up, and then see who picks who really in the semi-finals. But as I say, I think all teams have been able to take points off each other. So no matter who you pick, it's going to be a challenge, because all teams have got riders capable of winning at each other's track.
Well, there's lots to be sorted out over the next week. My thanks to Peter Facenna of the Glasgow Tigers for joining us. They've got a very busy weekend, and lots going on across British Speedway. Keep up to date with all of it by following Speedway GB on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and online as well at speedwaygb.co.uk for all the fixtures, match reports and anything else you need to know will all be available there as well, including league tables and things like that. I'll be back with you next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. I'll also be with you if you're watching that Redcar Bears live stream on Friday night. Redcar versus Leicester, which is of huge importance to how things are going to pan out at the top of the Championship League. I know that Peter Facenna is going to be keeping a close eye on that one, and we'll join you next Tuesday for all the reaction to everything that's going to happen in British Speedway as we get to crunch time and the playoffs all being confirmed and those final positions sorted in the Championship and the Premiership. In the meantime, have a great week. No breaks, no fear is a Nigel Pearson Media Limited production for British Speedway. See you next week.
No breaks, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.